Hey guys, welcome to another Fourth Fake Guru podcast. Today we have a very special guest, a good friend. He's been featured on Forbes Inc., has 700 agents, one of the fastest growing insurance agencies in the US. He's just crushing it. So let's get into it. Welcome, Eric.
What's up, Amel?
How you feeling?
Man, I'm feeling great. How are you?
Welcome to the podcast, man.
Just a disclaimer, this guy, like if he had 2 drinks in, but unfortunately he's sober for the past 10 days. If he had 2 drinks in, you guys would have watched this
Yeah,
podcast.
unfortunately, I don't have any alcohol running through me right now to get real, turned up on the podcast, but I feel like I can still do a pretty good job.
No, I feel like that's only going to keep him at like maybe 10% more PG, but other than that, it's game over.
Yeah, I
bro.
don't think I can run under PG-13.
Yeah.
I think I'm rated R and up.
100%.
For sure.
So Eric, man, it's been a long journey, man. I mean, we met, 4 years ago, 5 years ago?
So if I can recall, I believe it was January of 2021. It was right before my birthday when I met up with you guys in downtown Tampa. I remember it was just you two.
Yep.
We sat at this big ass table where you guys were a little bit too far away from me, but we had about a 2-hour conversation on, how I was referred to you by a good friend of mine, G, who she has the glam house here.
Yep.
She does lashes and everything. I guess because you guys have the same heritage and things like that. So I was like, well, let me go check them out. And that was what kind of opened up my eyes to how important branding, content, and all of these things were that I was already watching on YouTube. Like I was on YouTube. And I was realizing, okay, well, everybody's doing this in the real estate industry and the coaching industry, fitness, all these different industries, but not a lot of people were doing it in insurance. So I was like, okay, there's a hole here that needs to be filled. If I do it the right way with the right team, I could probably do it better and faster than everybody else. I just needed the right pieces to the puzzle. And that's why I approached you guys in the beginning.
So the way I want to take it is I want to talk about where you are right now, but then I kind of want to go back into, your upbringing and so forth. And then also the future of, everything that you have going on. But, as I mentioned at the intro, you have 700 agents, you have 14 offices, roughly doing $5 million a month, in annual premium.
Yeah, annual premium, yes.
So that's ridiculous, man. And I know a lot of times you mentioned that you're the fastest growing. What caused that blow up in a sense?
So initially what caused it is in any sales industry, guys, right? What's the number one thing salespeople lack? The ability to be not like every other salesperson. Okay, when you have commission breath and you sound just like every other salesperson, you're gonna get the same results as every other salesperson. So in an industry like the insurance industry that is still sales, a little bit different because you're not essentially selling a product, you're selling air. It's like a promise. So with that, you have to give a client as much visual understanding on what you're doing as possible. So I knew if I could take the critical thinking out of the agent before they even got on the phone with a client, that it was that much easier for them to just be themselves because there was not so much sales pressure. There wasn't as much commission breath. So I was like, okay, well, what do people look for in terms of doing business with a business, right? They look for credibility, sustainability, reliability, and how do you build those things? Branding, marketing, Google reviews, Facebook reviews, free value. All of that in terms of building a business is important because people want to trust you. People don't trust the typical salesperson. So I spent a massive amount of money off of my own personal production, knowing that if I built enough trust into a lead that I could then sell to an agent, and that agent could call that lead. Leads are still just as hard to get a hold of. It doesn't matter if it's a branded lead or bullshit lead. It's a phone number that you're calling. The difference is when you get on the phone with that lead, how quickly can you break that barrier down with the client? Well, the quicker the client already understands who you are, what you do, why you do it, and who you do it for, right? The quicker they'll let that barrier down, regardless if you're not the most talented salesperson on the phone. So I teach people not how to outsell, because I've met the best salespeople in the world that fucking suck at this opportunity. You know why? Because they're lazy, because they don't out prospect. 2024 is eyeballs. Everybody knows that. How many people can you get to see what we do? How many people can you prospect? How many DMs can you send out a day? How many dials can you make a day? So that was what I was trying to do. Take the critical thinking out of the agent. And I feel like that was why we blew up so quickly, is because I wasn't afraid to get in front of the camera and fail forward and fail fast. And I made a lot of mistakes, but I was not scared to unemotionally attach myself to money and understand if this works. And it might not. But if it works, I can 10x my business. And if it doesn't, so fucking what? I've lost everything twice already.
Yeah.
I don't want to be 60 years old saying, what about that unlived life?
Yeah.
So you think about the life that you haven't lived, the life that you could have lived, but you didn't make that one decision. You didn't continue to push forward when things got tough and started blaming everything else as to why you weren't successful. So I took that emotional attachment outside of my money, out of my work and everything. And I just said, I got to keep going because something's got to give. Something's got to give. And that's what does every real entrepreneur that's ever done anything in life,
100%.
anything real in life, huge in life, not the ones that got lucky because, they sold a coaching program on how to become a millionaire and never was a millionaire, but lied about becoming a millionaire to sell you on a coaching program to become a millionaire, right? That's the bullshit that you see all the time. But the people that really have real wealth, they went all in.
100%.
Their risk management was, for lack of better words, like ass, like they didn't care.
Yeah.
And I took the care out of it.
One thing I wanted to tell you, so obviously there is a quote that you always say is people lies, number don't.
Yeah, men lie, women lie. Now I say data don't.
Data don't. Love it.
Data don't.
That's
But-
like upgrade.
I was never a data guy, but I hired a CTO and he taught me a lot about data, even shit that I wasn't paying attention to. When you start building a business this big, those few data points that you were missing or not paying attention to, when you tweak those just by 1% or 0.5%, it's
Great results.
incredible how much more revenue you can generate
Like
for
what?
your business. For instance, I always thought if as long as more was going in my bank account when I started making money than was going out, hey, I was good. I didn't realize to put everything in a spreadsheet and break everything down into categories and know, okay, well, I spent $50,000 this month taking agents out to strip clubs and bottles and popping and this and that. What if I would have put that $50,000 towards this much of a bonus percentage on leads, to give to the agents if they hit a certain criteria. So that's what changed my mind last year. Last year, the CEO thing got to me, the money got to me, the 3 or 4 months, maybe 6 months that I went out splurging and going crazy and yachts and parties and just taking care of everybody. When I realized that was kind of counterproductive because now I'm taking all my agents out thinking that's what they wanted. And now they're hung over for 2 or 3 days, get into the office. And there was no substance there. It was all surface level. When I started, repurposing that money for things that could build the agent's business and help them build their brand and their credibility, I started realizing the amount of growth, more growth that we could have on top of what we were already doing. And that's why we haven't stopped our level of growth yet. From 2022 to 2023, we grew at 700%. This year, we're still, even
crazy.
with the numbers that we're in, remember, we went from 2.5 million in 2022 to almost 19 million in 2023, 7x growth, right? This year, we're going to go from 18.87 million just in the life insurance side, almost 19 million, to we're projected to do 62 million right now.
Fuck.
That's still a 400, 500% growth. To maintain that level of growth at the amount of volume that we're doing
It's
and
savage.
the amount of new agents that we're bringing on, it's because we continue to look at the minute details, the data points that we weren't paying attention to previously. So now instead of awarding my top producer that's doing $100,000 a month, I'm starting to look at other things. I'm like, what about my producers that are doing $50,000, $60,000 a month that have half the amount of chargebacks because they're treating the client right?
True.
So they get twice the amount of referrals. So the indirect ROI or the later on down the road ROI is just as important as the beginning. What about the CRM usage? What about the client retention marketing that my agents are doing that are at 56? So instead of paying attention to those top producers that are just slinging out deals, I'm paying attention to consistency now, because once you build a level of generals in the insurance industry that have a massive amount of consistency and they all follow a general script and rebuttals, and they're just militant in the sales process every single time, your business starts to spread like wildfire, so you can start working on the business instead of in it.
In the business.
You know how they say, don't look at what people are doing now, look at what they did when they just started? I know you're looking at the data right now, but what did you do to blow up like that? Because dude, you blew up, and we talk about this all the time. There's so many other people that care about their agents and they're trying to do bonus packs and take them out and stuff like that, but there's something different about you. What else do you think it is other than the data?
I decided to go against the grain. I mean, specifically in my industry, people were very uptight. 7-piece suits, oh, you got to come in uniformed. You got to have this. You got to do that. I wasn't lackadaisical in those things. I just let people be them. I want you to show I'm not coming to work in a 7-piece suit. I don't need a 7-piece suit to make millions of dollars. I'll wear a $22 built t-shirt that stretches where I feel comfortable, and some Fabletics pants and some Nike shoes and coming to work and I feel comfortable. So then my personality comes out. The only thing I did different from everybody else aside be yourself is get the fuck up and get to work on time. Yeah, I just wanted people to be them. So I wasn't too tight on running this like a corporate America. I wanted people to be them and be themselves. I just wanted them to focus on outworking, like committing. It takes no talent to outwork. It just takes a commitment, like a commitment to get up at the same time every single day. When I first started in this industry, like now I sleep in till 7, 8 o'clock sometimes because I fucking can. I'm the founder and I've invested millions of dollars into this business and I have a full-on executive team and I have a support system to be able to take care of the agents. And my mind is best when I only have to make 3 to 4 major decisions a day for the company to move it forward. It is not my job to go to the office 13 hours a day anymore and be locked in sales training. If I was doing that, I'd be the sales trainer for Insurance Elevated, not the founder and CEO that has to make the most important executive decisions. Because one bad decision, if my mind's off track and I'm being swayed any type of way, and I make one wrong decision and I ruin the food, you know, that the families of the agents that work with me put on the plates, you know, for their families, then that's my fault. So I have to make sure that I have a clear conscience that I'm making the right decisions every single day. So for me, like, you know, I sleep in sometimes 7, 8 o'clock now. I don't take a single call usually now until 10 a.m. But from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., I'm all in. I'm all in. But my mornings are now for me. But when I first started as an agent, I knew you could legally prospect at 8:01 a.m.
Yeah.
So a lot of times in the insurance industry, it's so easy to make money, especially with our leads, Insurance Elevated leads, the branding, the credibility, that agents will just work 25 leads a week and they can make $20,000 a month. So then they start waking up late. So I kind of built a double-edged sword. We blew up very quickly, but we built a lot of consistency. However, we built a lot of complacency. We have a shit ton of agents making $250,000 a year. We only have 8 to 10 of them that'll make $1 million this year, which is still better than almost every other IMO in the country. And we're just a general agency. But however, what I'm looking at is the 200 to 300 agents that are only going to make $250,000 this year, when I know for a fact if they just bought double the amount of leads, or if they sent double the amount of DMs in a week than they usually do, or when they went to a restaurant, every single time they went, they talked to the waiter or the waitress or the valet guys or wherever they're at about a new opportunity. They don't. They're not a walking lead. I always tell everybody, yeah, you could buy leads. That's a cherry on top. But you're the fucking lead. You need to lead yourself to money. Like, you need to understand that everybody you speak to is an opportunity. And you don't just say, I sell health and life insurance. Like, if you told me that, I'd tell you to shut the fuck up or I'd walk away. 100%. When somebody asks me, like, what do you do for a living? Well, my conversation now is different because I'm the owner. But if I'm a sales agent, right, and I know what I do, so what I do is very different in the building generational wealth space in terms of like cash value life insurance. We show a younger generation, a newer crowd, how to leverage life insurance like the wealthy do. And you don't have to be wealthy. This is not a get rich quick scheme, but where you start is not how you finish. But what the important part is starting. And here's how we do it. And here's how we leverage life insurance to build businesses and develop real estate or invest in real estate later on in the future. We also show people that for being relatively healthy, how to save hundreds, if not thousands of dollars a year on their health insurance. That's my elevator pitch. Instead of saying, I just sell health and life insurance. Yeah. You see the difference there?
Of course.
Now, somebody, whether they want to buy a product or whether they want to work with it, I'm like, damn, I want to know more about that. What?
Yeah. Plus the tonality on top of it.
Yeah, exactly. Tonality,
especially when he says the thing with like, oh, that's what wealth people have been keeping away and stuff like that. That's like always like, what?
Yeah, your conviction, like you have to love what you do. Like, I love people. I don't love insurance, especially health insurance, because it's fucked up in America. We just do the best job as the middlemen to make sure that people, because it's a necessary evil to have, but we know how to protect people the right way, and we're there for them when something does happen to make sure that the insurance companies are paying the way they should. I don't necessarily love all life insurance. I do love some IULs. I love some whole life infinite banking concepts, in terms of, debt-free solutions and, getting people out of debt with leveraging, cash value and things like that. But I'm not a fan of lying to people and telling them that they're going to earn 6 to 8% interest right when they open up an IUL and they're going to become a millionaire off of a $100 a month IUL. No, that is not true. Yeah. IULs and cash value life insurance is a 10, 15, 20-year play. But if you are patient and you're consistent and you continue to add to it as life goes on, you truly can build another sustainable cash value vehicle in your investment portfolio. That might not be an investment per se, but you have some stocks, you have some real estate, you got some really good cash value life insurance that you can leverage against, especially when interest rates right now are 8% and you can borrow against your fucking policy at 4%. It's common fucking sense. So everybody on social media, like, oh, it's a scam, it's this, it's that. No, it's not a fucking scam. You paid on it for a year and a half and you went fucking broke and you canceled your policy. And then let's say, or a lot of families that the breadwinner got a policy, they let it lapse, then they die, then the family members try to go collect the money, then the family members get mad at the insurance company and write a Better Business Bureau review on the fact that the insurance company didn't pay out because the breadwinner wasn't responsible enough to continue paying for the policy. That's what we deal with. That's the scam shit that you get. Or the TikTok liars that tell you that you can get 8% interest on an IUL the day you open it up, which is a lie as well. So setting the right expectations is really where I feel like we separated ourselves, because when we started working with clients, not only did we outwork everybody 12, 14 hours a day, 90 hours a week, like that's what we did the first 2 years. I drove my ex-girlfriend's Honda Civic around. You guys know it. 4-cylinder. Bitch went 60 miles an hour, okay, for almost 2 years. Before I started balling out and buying all this jewelry, like I made the sacrifice. So when I watch people taking vacations their first 6 to 9 months in the industry, I'm like, what are you doing?
It's loan money.
It's loaned money. The insurance company is loaning you this money. You're already not dispositioning your deals. You're already not doing a 5-day follow-up with the client. You're already not sharing your screen 100% of the time to show the client visually what they're getting because you're selling them a promise. You see, so I went the opposite route. Like, I'm not the guy that's going to pat you on the back and tell you that you're doing well. I'm going to show you where you're leaving money on the table and help on the table. And that's my job. And that's where I separated myself. And in the beginning, it was very rough because everybody thought I was doing it the wrong way. Everybody thought I was too aggressive. I was too rough. I'm too this. I'm an asshole. I'm a piece of shit. I get it. Everybody calls me that. But somehow I'm still fucking here, right? It's because I want more out of people than they want out of themselves sometimes. And I don't give up on that aspect of it. Like, I know the best version of people usually when I meet them. And I know when they're slipping, and I know when they're not using their potential. And I'm going to keep pushing those buttons and shaking the tree. And sometimes we shake the tree and the leaves fall off, and they should. People are with you, for seasons, that's fine. But sometimes you shake the tree and people nut the fuck up.
Yeah.
And they end up changing their life. And those are the people that I still do this for.
100%.
Because I don't care about the people that fall off. You got to get through those.
Yeah.
I care about the people that hold on, and I watch change their entire lives. Like,
of course,
Ian Brook, you guys all know as my partner. This year he'll touch his first million, probably 1.4 million this year.
Yeah.
And that to me, that's my satisfaction.
Huge, bro.
Right? Adrian will touch his first million this year. Adrian's who has 2 offices because he outgrew in Orlando.
Yeah.
Absolutely balling out of control.
I see him in the wins chat. Boom, boom,
exactly.
boom, boom.
That is why I do this, because it's impact, right?
Yeah.
And it's important that people understand. The reason why we blew up so much is we outworked everybody, and we created more credibility faster than everybody else. And I wanted to put as much free value out there as possible before we started running ads. I probably put 250 videos out with you guys before I even started running ads.
Right.
Just telling people what they could do with their insurance, like just being there for them. That's important.
You know what's funny? It's like what you did wasn't extraordinary. You just did it so consistently that the results were extraordinary. And I do want to pivot. I love where you're at now, like what you're building and everything. We want to talk about, like, obviously your upbringing, so that people see like the story and the transition.
Of course.
But before we dive into that, I did want to share with you a huge win that I think is going to mean a lot to you. Last week, we just surpassed 100 million eyeballs on Meta.
Do we have a plaque for that or something? I'd love to show that off.
100 million
Nah, Mark
people.
is cheap, bro. Zuckerberg ain't said nothing, bro.
100 million people have seen the bald insurance guy.
100 million people.
It's
Well,
crazy.
not 100 million people, 100 million eyeballs. So
So what is that like?
it was 25 million people
2
that
per
saw
person?
it 4 times on average.
Okay, well, it's still 25 million, right?
That's the entire
No
audience.
wonder people look at me funny when I'm out at restaurants. I thought it was just because of my bald head and my tattooed hairline.
No, but we know you talk a lot about your upbringing. I want to dive into that. I want to talk about your story of how you got into entrepreneurship, like the first couple of jobs you had, why you didn't want to go down this path, maybe your connection within your family. Like, tell us your story, bro. Like, who is Eric before Eric became the insurance guy?
Eric was just, Eric was just a regular white kid from, Haines City, Florida, that grew up with a lot of, Spanish culture and black culture, just because we were the minority, in my city. And I grew up in a, middle class neighborhood, nice 1-story house that I remember my dad, I think he paid $44,700 for it. I remember that.
Damn.
He bought it, probably 40 years ago. And he did all the work to it. My dad was, he worked for Ford for, 30 years, worked on the Ford GT back in 2000 when they first reintroduced it. Knew everything about cars, could take them apart. I remember, as a kid watching him, rebuild cars in the garage and do, repaint them and sand them. And, even the police vehicles, everything he could do to make extra money to provide for us, my family. But, growing up, it was hard, watching, my dad would, he was a drunk. My mom was, she would go out and party too much. And they, I would see the toxic relationship as a kid, 7, 8 years old, them fighting each other, hitting each other, all kinds of shit, cheating on each other, like just everything you can think of as a fucked up childhood, right? So I was very good at watching all of that. And I knew like I didn't have role models. I had people I didn't want to fucking be like. And that's really what...
It kind of works the same way in a sense.
Yeah, it does. And I was like, man, I really don't want to be this way. And it's funny because even those past traumas now still resonate within me because I can tell even within my own like personalities now, like I have some impatience, I have some aggression. And I think it stems all from that. But I grew up in that until I was about 10, 11 years old. They finally got divorced. They hated each other after that. A lot of things happened. But about 12 years old, once the divorce was finalized, I didn't want to live with either of them. I was tired of both their shit. So I moved in with my grandmother. And
I did not know that.
Yeah,
That's
I moved
crazy.
in with my grandmother at 12 years old in the same house that my mom had won in the divorce. So it pissed my dad off because she never even wanted the house because he bought it for that $44,000, did all the work to it. So she ended up moving out the fucking house as soon as they got divorced. And she moved in with her new husband, which was a multimillionaire named Dan Kilburn. He died from a cocaine overdose, actually, like 10 years ago. She moved to Winter Haven, Florida, which was about 20 minutes from Haines City, Florida. And when she moved in with him, like they went on their little spree. The only good thing about him was he let me drive his 745 Li BMW to like my homecoming in 10th grade. I remember that's all I cared about to use it for. And other than that, I was like living with my grandmother.
That was flexing since day one.
Yeah. But when I moved in, well, I stayed in my same house. My grandmother moved in there. My mom had moved out. A couple months later, my uncle gets out of prison, moves in with his cousin, my cousin, his son, AJ. And we're all living in the same house. And it's cool. It's my cousin AJ. We're chilling, my uncle. But what happens is like, my mother kind of, is not really giving me any money to like go to school and like support myself because I wouldn't move in with her. So she was just being a bitch. So, my grandmother, she was on a fixed income and my uncle wasn't really making money, just got out of prison. So I was like, fuck it. My uncle had a girlfriend that would leave her like hair cutting supplies in the garage. So I was like looking at that. So I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna just start cutting everybody's hair in the neighborhood and seeing if I can charge for it. So I started fucking people up, cutting their eyebrows, like slicing them with a straight blade. I would go to the barbershop down the road. I knew no Spanish at the time. And the Spanish barbers thought it was like cool. They were like, yo, there's fucking white boys in the barbershop like watching us every day, trying to learn how to cut hair. So finally this dude named Oscar, he used to cut my hair. He'd bring me over. He's like, like, Papito, come here, check it out. Like, watch what I do. And I just started watching him and I started learning, man. And I got good enough from the time I was like 12 to 13 years old to start charging to start cutting hair. And that's where my entrepreneurship really came from. I was like, oh shit.
You had long ass hair at the time.
I had long ass hair. They used to call me Jesus, bro. The hair was down here, I promise you.
Can you find a photo?
You guys can flash it. I'll send you the picture.
Guys, this is video format.
And it's funny because when you see that, I always had a big ass chain somehow too. Big ass 14 karat gold chain with a charm, long ass hair, Ralph Lauren polo. It was funny, man. But I grew up in that culture, right? And I was very big in like the Spanish culture, and I always knew something was different about me because my skin complexion, my melanin, like I would get real dark when I was in the sun, and I was like, man, like, and I didn't look like my dad, and I was like, I don't look like I damn sure don't look like my sisters, and they're all like country as fuck, and half of them are racist, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm not like, I don't like y'all. Yeah. I didn't like my whole family. You guys all suck, kind of. So I'm like 14, 15 years old at this point.
Bro, that's a bright 14-year-old, bro.
Yeah,
Thinking about all this shit.
So I'm just, I'm figuring everything out. Like I'm watching everybody, how they move, how they live life. My aunt comes up to me when I'm like 14, almost 15 years old. She's like, Eric, I needed you to know, like, your dad's not your dad. Your dad's not your real dad. You got this other dad named Jaime or Jamie or whatever the fuck his name is that lives, in that same city that my mom was in. So I guess my mom had cheated on my dad years ago. My dad was like, fuck it, I'm still going to take care of the kid. I never knew anything. He signed the birth certificate. So at 15, I met, I met my father at his lawyer's office, my real father, and it was the only time I ever met him. I actually know people who know him still till this day, and it's funny. And I've told this story before, but my father used to own a life insurance company.
Yeah.
And
He was a bodybuilder too, right?
I'm sorry?
He was a bodybuilder too.
Yeah, he was a bodybuilder too. So I went on to become a bodybuilder. I went on to,
That's
now
crazy.
I own a life insurance company. But what's the funniest shit is I found out recently that he still lives in that city and he's a part of the Winter Haven Country Club. So he golfs and shit. He drives an orange Lamborghini.
Oh no!
So
What?
he's still around motherfuckers, smoking cigars, hanging
Bro,
out.
it's
So, like,
literally you,
it's-
bro.
It's crazy because I hate
Probably
him.
say let's fucking fuck.
Yeah, I hate the guy because we're a lot alike, but I just have a bigger heart than him.
Yeah.
But it's just funny, like the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So it kind of teaches you certain things about like your heritage, your bloodline, like who you really are as a person. And like he's Cuban, Italian, and white. Like his like biological father's Cuban, his mother's Sicilian. Like she lives in Sicily. So I got, I have a little bit of that Spanish heritage in me, not a lot. But when I was growing up, 14, 15 years old, I was hanging out with a lot of Mexicans because I was playing soccer. I wanted to play professional soccer. So I went to Mexico and tried to play for Pachuca. And that was when I was just new, okay, so I'm competitive. I understand like how to make money based on a skill set that I had better than everybody else at my age group. So I was like, okay, if I put those two things together, and I started noticing like the more people that I met, the more opportunity I started getting put on. So I knew my network was my net worth before all that cool shit was to say on social media.
Right.
I knew, like, so I just started, I had it, like, I wasn't a super smart person. I just went through a lot of shit that had me develop a lot of common sense. And I feel like that street smart shit, that common sense that I developed, and I was selling like, I was selling weed, cocaine, like during high school. I met a guy named Javier in high school playing cards one day in the cafeteria. And he was like, yo, man, I heard you like, a hustler, cutting hair, doing this, doing that. He's like, I sell bootleg like bathing apes. Remember them bathing apes? And like Coogee, Ed Hardy and all that. And he's like, yo, I got like all these bootleg clothes. You got I had like 5 or 6 girls at all times in high school selling candy for me. Like whatever I could do to make
He
money.
had agents back in high school, bro.
I had to. And around the time 14, 15, my grandmother moved out of the house because my mother wanted to sell it. I moved across the street to my homeboy's house. And they were Mexicans. They didn't speak any English, his parents, but I had always grew up with them, so they knew me. So they allowed me to move in there for $250 a month rent.
Damn.
For their like garage room.
How
that
old
they
were
had
you?
built. I was 15 at the time.
You were paying rent at
I was
15?
paying $250 a month rent at the time.
Bro, that's crazy.
Yeah. So I didn't have a choice, right? It was survival mode. And I had to create a lot of my morals. I had to create a lot of my boundaries on my own. I had to create what I thought was a proper life to live.
Right.
So growing up like that allowed me to understand like there's so much more to life outside of survival mode. You just need to learn a really good skill set and get better at everybody else at certain things, and you can charge a premium price for it. I got really good at selling. I got really good. Even when we opened up our clothing store and barbershop at 17 years old, I became an emancipated adult so I could open up a business with Javier because we had been doing well for the last year and a half. Even if we didn't meet our quota that day, like let's say we had a quota of making $1,000 and we made 700. I'd throw all the shit in my car. I'd go try to cut a couple heads. I was doing house calls before barbers knew what fucking house calls were. Like back then, charging $25 for a house call. Imagine you driving 30 minutes to cut somebody's hair for $25 fucking dollars in my Honda Accord that ain't got no fucking AC, right? So I was doing that back in Haines City in Davenport, Florida. And I would throw like shoes, clothes, and I would stop at a convenience store, get a Red Bull, whatever the case. And I would just wait for people to walk out.
That's
like,
half the haircut, bro.
You need some Air Forces? $30.
Yeah.
Boom. We used to call them throwaways because they were fake. Like you wear them 1 or 2 times, you got to throw them away. That's why we call them throwaways for $30. And then we started realizing the money wasn't in the retail. The money was in the wholesale. So instead of us slaving in the store all day for 12, 14 hours, I started selling boxes of Forces, and just wholesaling them to other people at other flea markets. I started going to flea markets all the way to Sefner and like all these different flea markets all around Florida and just selling cases of fucking Air Forces. And I was making way more money than retail and shit. And this was in the summer of 2009, 2010, during the height of the recession. Nobody had no fucking money. So we were the bargain boys. Like that's what we did. We cut hair for cheap. We got you clothes for cheap. And that was it. And of course, everything fucked up because Javier wanted to start selling, all kinds of other shit. And that's when I had got out of selling drugs because I was doing so well cutting hair. And he got fucked up there. He went to prison. I found, at that point I had a kid with a girl and found out a year later that, my son wasn't mine. So I was like, fuck, find out my dad's not my real dad.
Damn.
Find out my son's not my real fucking son. I lose everything there. And then I go work out of a kiosk selling fucking phones because I had heard that wireless, like that was where the money was at outside of being an entrepreneur.
What was
which I
that,
already
T-Mobile?
was. Sprint at the time.
Sprint,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
Sprint, yeah.
so when I first got in there, I was making like 150,000 a year at like 19, 20 years old. So
Damn.
when I go work at Sprint and they're telling me, hey man, you know, it's $8 an hour plus like if you're really good, you can make $1,200 a month commission. I said, what the fuck? I was like, oh hell no.
I made
like,
more selling bootleg Air Forces.
So my first month in the kiosk, I'm greeting everybody over there like, yo, this guy's fucking insane. I'm like, yeah, because I don't want to be fucking broke. Like I lost everything. I gotta get this money. My first month, I made like $4,700 commission, and then they gave me $1 raise. Next month, $4,800 commission. They gave me another $1 raise. Next month, $5,000 commission. They gave me another $1 raise. 11 months later, I'm now a general manager. But then I quit because they pissed me off one day, and I was like very cocky back then. I wasn't confident how I am now. Like I was cocky because I was making, because everything had went right. Even though everything was going wrong in my life, financially it was always right. Like I was always making money. So then I left to go work for Wells Fargo and lied on my job application that I had mortgage experience at like 21 years old. So they hired me as a fucking mortgage consultant. I didn't know shit about fuck. I was sitting there with loans coming. I had a bunch of realtor friends.
He's the reason the online crash happened.
They were sending me loans, and I'm like, I'm going to my buddy that got me the job. I'm like, bro, how the fuck do I put this in? Like, so, but I learned along the way, and I figured out as a mortgage consultant at Wells Fargo, because of everything that had happened with the mortgage fallout, they were giving unlimited overtime. So I just put on my car that I was working like 100 fucking hours a week that I was at the realtor's offices and doing this and doing that. So I made like $100 and something thousand on fucking hourly at Wells Fargo for like 11 months. So they finally caught on, and it was like, yo, you gotta fucking chill. No more overtime for you. And as soon as they caught on, a couple weeks later, I got a phone call from Steve Markangelo, which was the regional director for Sprint back when I had left, and he was like, "Hey man, the last day that you left before you went to Wells Fargo, I really liked you. Like, I heard a lot about you. I hate that we lost you. Pick a store in all of the country that you want, and I'll kick the manager out and I'll hire you."
Damn.
So I picked Florida Mall in Orlando only because I was dating a Guatemalan girl that lived right by Florida Mall in Orlando. So I'm like, well, fuck, just put me there. Not realizing nobody spoke fucking English or had socials in Florida Mall because they were all from Venezuela. So you can't really sell phones to them. I should have picked Brandon Mall or Lakeland where everybody had socials and it was like my people anyway, so it was easier to sell to. Even though I knew some, back then I still was really like pretty versed in Spanish. I wasn't fluent, but I was pretty good. And that kind of realized, okay, like I'm developing relationships now where people are noticing me. And that started making me realize there's way more out there, right? I always knew how to make money, but it was always that 100 to 150,000. It was like, how can I get to that 250,000 and up, where back then 93% of America did not touch a quarter million and up. So that was always my goal. And it's funny because you start to create these goals in your mind. I don't give myself goals anymore because like it fucks with your belief system, because you only believe that's, I give myself habit building, right? Like, hey, I need to be a better, like not drinking, right? Like, hey, I need to stop drinking on Saturdays because I don't know when to stop. So I'm 6 a.m. with a bottle of fucking Class A down. And now for the next 3 days, my pores are leaking fucking Class A and I don't want to work, right? So I'm developing better habits, gym 5 days a week, gallon of water, this and that. And then that just automatically turns into more revenue for me now. So I switched from goal to habit searching, better habits.
So are you close with any family member right now?
Fuck no.
Like no one?
None.
I mean, how does that make you feel though?
How does it make me feel? I mean, dude, at the end of the day, deep down, like, even when I go to therapy and they make me bring it up, right? Like when I talk to my therapist about my family, I start to realize there's some shit in there that I didn't understand.
You didn't realize,
That I didn't realize. I used to be the person like Dana White, he gets on, oh no, fuck that, be a man, this and that.
Yeah.
I used to be that same way, thinking mental health was not real, depression wasn't real, because I never had that luxury to be depressed. I think I was depressed for like 2 weeks when I found out my son wasn't mine. That was the most devastating time of my life. But then my bank account was more depressing, so I couldn't I had to choose. You know what I'm saying? And now that I do have everything I want in life, you start to realize what else is there. When you buy the Lamborghinis, you buy the watches, you buy everything, everything. You like, okay, what is there? There's got to be more to life. Like now, I think I realize why like billionaires start drinking baby blood and shit, because they've ran out of shit to do. So they're like, what else can I do? Like, there's nothing something else. I got to figure something
We
else out.
promised you guys an R-rated
Like,
podcast,
I
and we
really
delivered,
do think
bro.
that's why, like, because they're not happy because they got everything they want in life.
I feel you.
And they haven't found their purpose, because I think it's a really hard transition from survival to purpose, because when you start making way more money than God allows and you're just like, what do I do with it? Well, of course, you just got to go help more people. And if you don't have that heart, if you're just a selfish motherfucker and like you're not that type of person, you're going to start drinking baby blood. Like, that's what you do, because you don't know what else to do except for weird shit. Or you start to like ruin other people's lives so you can develop more power, like politicians and shit. Now I see why the wealthiest of the wealthy try to control the world, because it's a fucking game to them, because that's all they have. Because they don't have good family morals. They don't have, like, everybody fucked each other over and, cheated on each other and did this and did that. So there's just no morals left. There's no true like culture there,
Yeah.
And I feel like people get lost in life, and that's why it's important for me now to understand what am I doing with my life now?
What's your purpose?
My purpose is just helping other people, like putting them in positions to be able to feed their families in a way that they've never been able to do before.
So family is super important to you for other
It
people,
is.
but for yourself,
You're right. See,
do you look into
you
that?
sound like my fucking therapist right now. You sound exactly like my therapist.
I'm gonna charge you for this then.
Yeah. So, I've been having a hard time lately understanding who I am, because lately I've been noticing, I've always been a happy-go-lucky drunk. And lately when I get drunk, I feel like I've been meaner lately, more aggressive. People have like caught it. And before I wouldn't listen to the advice. I would be like, nah, fuck y'all. Like, no, it's not true. But I started noticing it myself, because it's been more occurrences. And it's a thing of like, maybe I do feel a little bit, out of it. Like what do I do next? Even though I'm helping a lot of people, it's like you got to figure. So that just goes back down to, I'm helping a lot of other people. Yeah, a lot of other people love what I'm doing for them and doing this and doing that. But am I happy with myself? Am I happy with my life? Am I doing everything? Am I forgetting about what makes me happy?
Do you want a family?
Yeah, I do want a family. I do. And I think that I'm so scared of having a family because I'm scared to get betrayed. I'm scared to get cheated on. I'm scared to get...
You don't want history to repeat
I'm scared
itself.
to get everything taken away from me.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's hard. Like, I want a family. I want that life, but I'm also an overthinker. Any little thing that you do to me that like doesn't seem right, I start questioning everything. And then I overthink. And then it makes me want to hurt that person before that person hurts me, even in friendships. If I feel like a friend is starting to take more from me, and I'm just giving, it's like, okay, what can I do to cut this off as quickly as possible? When maybe I haven't asked enough questions or communicated as to, or seen their perspective, So there's a lot of things you have to learn as human beings, especially as men.
course.
And that's why I think it's important to have a life coach. It's important to have mentors. It's important. And bro, you got to choose the right mentor too. I just had a mentor turn his back on me and try to fuck me over.
Yeah.
Like, and just because my need or his need of me isn't there anymore. When all the while I thought we were like family. So it's important that you choose the right people in your life, that you understand what truly makes you happy. Because bro, let me tell you something. You have all the money in the world, but if you're 60 years old sitting in the hospital and you got cancer or something's fucked up and you only got one or two people checking on you and they're so busy and you didn't put enough impact in their life that they're not coming to check on you and really sit with you and be there for you, none of that money ain't gonna matter.
Yeah.
And I am not looking forward to that. So right now I'm just looking to find my people, my person that I want to marry, that I want to be with, that I want to have a family with. I want to teach kids to do exactly what I think is the right thing to do in life, in terms of sports, in terms of, relationships, in terms of, how to treat others.
I mean, bro, imagine this, bro. You know how to lead 700 people to change their life, and they work with you. They're not your blood.
Of course.
Imagine how good you would mentor someone that is your blood, that you care about,
Absolutely.
that you would die
But
for.
imagine how bad I could fuck them up if I wasn't mentally in love with myself first.
So do you think you're ready now, or do you think you still have
I think I'm almost there. I'm doing the work right now to get there.
Yeah.
I'm doing the work. I'm getting better at certain things. I'm noticing. I slip. Bro, nobody's perfect.
I mean, bro, we
I
all
just love the
slip,
fact.
bro.
I just love the fact that
Everybody.
he's at peace with himself when it comes
Nah,
to
you
that shit.
change a lot,
finally
bro.
at
I've
peace
noticed
with-
that.
I'm finally at peace with being honest with myself on what I need to do better at as a man.
Yeah.
I'm at peace with knowing when somebody, instead of degrading somebody, like one of my friends, like I had a friend last week, a guy friend of mine, kind of check me on something that I was saying, not realizing how it was coming off, like my delivery. And I literally left him on red, and I didn't realize that I left him on red until I went to go, because I was drinking that night. And I went to go text him yesterday. I realized I never wrote him back. And I'm like, fuck. And I read it sober. And I'm like, damn, that makes sense. I could see how somebody would take that. So now I'm trying to put myself in other people's shoes at all times. Like when I'm talking to a brand new agent that might be struggling, instead of saying, you fucking suck like I used to, I want to know why. I want to know why. Let me find out first. Now, if you really do suck, that's you. But if there's something going on in your personal life where let's not get too personal, but let's see, like let's be solution driven. Like, hey man, what's going on? Where's your mental at? Where if we put this in place, could you get here?
Yeah.
What do you think you could do?
Right.
Here's what I think you can do. And let's check back up a week or two from now and see if that was put into place. Now, if you didn't put it into place, you need to own that. That's on you. So before when I used to be like, oh, he fucking sucks. No, don't get my time anymore. Now, let me see why. Let's come up with a solution driven conversation. Right? You find a solution, I find a solution. Let's see if it works together. And then let's go from there. So there's a lot of things that I'm working on now because now, God willing, the business is going to keep growing, with me just working on it instead of having to be in it all the time, where I can focus on other things that in turn is going to be better for the business. That become a better man, a better human, a better leader, right? A better friend, a better boyfriend, in terms of, having a girlfriend and all of those things, and eventually a good father and husband. That's only going to build a better brand, build better credibility. Then I become more reliable to people.
100%.
Then more people follow.
100%.
And in turn, more people make money.
I
Because I'm
think-
already good at a couple things. You know what I'm saying?
I think the biggest flex nowadays is no longer like who can make the most money. It's like who can be genuinely the best version of themselves. Like someone I heavily look up to is like Caesar, like our PR guy. Fucking savage business owner, savage dad, savage friend. Like that's the type of shit that I think is like super fucking cool.
Yeah, Caesar's a man of many talents, but it's so funny you just brought that up because Caesar spoke to me in Miami. We were having dinner together, me and him, and Caesar don't drink, and I was just sitting with him sober that night. Like we were talking, he invited me to dinner because I went down there and did some podcasts and some things. And Caesar said, Eric, you've gotten down pat the first form of PR, that first major form of PR, marketing, branding. Like you're one of the best I've seen and you're going places. But now we got to get you to number 2, which is way more powerful. To be talked about in rooms that you're not in, that's big, of people of influence and power. So how big of an impact can you make? So the first form is paying for it. Getting everybody in front of you, doing the work ethic, the grind,
the paid ads, the
paid
features.
ads, everything. The second form is making such a positive impact to your one-to-many market that your name is being brought up almost inevitably in every major room in the country. That's the highest level of PR. And I was like, damn, that's fucking, no wonder this motherfucker makes so much money. You know what I'm saying? That's smart. I want my name brought up in every single room, whether it's good or bad. Just talk about it. You know what I'm saying? So that I thought was pretty cool. So it's funny you brought that up.
No, Caesar's smart, man. But the thing about you is you're very loud. And I think that helped you obviously scale.
Of course.
My question ultimately is at what point do you maybe shift over and focus on yourself and the business? And are you worried if you make the shift that the business will take a hit?
That's funny you asked that. So a few months ago when I brought on Eric Perez, right, he was a huge help. But he was the opposite of the help I thought he was going to be, yet still just as valuable, if not more. So I thought he was going to be brought on as an operator, operating the company, that next general. He's not a general at all. He's super politically correct. He's really good at disarming people, but he's not. But he's a data scientist. So as soon as I found that out, I went back and became that main general because I pulled back a little bit, started working on myself, started focusing on things. But then I started realizing there wasn't a voice. There wasn't as much of a voice. In the chats, there wasn't a voice on all of the meetings and the Zooms. So I transitioned back into that role until I find a true COO, like a general that can be by my side and really operate the company at a high level when I'm working on the bigger things on the business. But bringing him into that CTO role where he truly focuses on the consistency of the agents and the data points and showing them the true numbers and how they can get better based on what he sees, good and bad. That was a huge thing. So that still has helped provide me a little bit more time. It still helped me be able to scale back from being so in locking arms with the agents to where I can focus on better things in terms of my health and my mental. But having a true general like a COO, that's the only thing that I'm missing right now that I'm in like the market for as we speak.
Who figured out that he was better at like the data
did.
side? Because that's like a very good skill to have. Because sometimes you bring in someone and you want them to be maybe the CEO, and maybe they're not good, and usually people let them go. How do you notice what someone's good at and put them into the right position?
I paid okay, so when I first brought him on, that was my first time ever bringing somebody on that I was going to give a lot of my workload to. So I spent a massive amount of time with him instead of anybody else. Me, the founder, CEO, like I was with him. I remember spending 5 days with him in Orlando, had 3 interviews with him even prior to him coming on board, taught a lot of everything to him myself, had 15 to 20 calls with him a day myself on everything that happened. And on every call, I would bring him on and let him listen to it. So I was able to see what type of impact he was making, how he portrayed situations to me after they were already done, what his feedback was, and how he kept bringing it all to data, back to, and he was just really good at creating automations and things that just made all of the agents' lives easier. So I was like, okay, this is where you're strong suit at. You're not like, I had to tell him to get in the chat and to say things, and when he would say things, it would be very generic.
True.
Yeah.
He was really good at presentations, but I was like, he would make like presentations for me and I'd read them. I'm like, dude, that doesn't sound like me at all.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it's really smart, but that's
True.
not me. Like, we got to redo this entire presentation.
Yeah.
Like, great layout, you know, in terms of automations, AI, like super clean. But it's to me, I'm gonna read it and I'm gonna fall asleep. So I knew where he was strong. He was not a general. He's not a loud operator that can keep people motivated. Because at the end of the day, a lot of people are not inspired.
Yeah.
They get easily motivated if you're the right person and you can be in their face and you know, keep them going. But inspiration sometimes does come after a certain level of motivation has been given by people that are supposed to lead you. So I think it's important that you have good leaders, because over time you can get inspired. What if 6 months down the road I finally say something to a new agent where it finally clicks for them? But the first 6 months it doesn't, because I got to figure out what clicks with them. But if I wasn't as good of a CEO or somebody like a general that can run the company, and I gave up after 2 or 3 months, and I didn't truly try to find out what makes you click, then you just lost out on a career that could have been good for you if I would have just found what made you tick. You know?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was saying, like, I feel like the way you look at agents is the way I look at like new clients when I'm talking to them on the marketing side. It's like, I feel like I'm doing them a disservice if I don't act like an active listener and really figure out where I can help. And if I can help, I tell them straight up. And if I can't help, I also tell them straight up. So like the way you treat your agents is that they're each one of them clients of yours.
Yes. So that's the biggest thing in the insurance industry right now. Like when I came into the insurance industry, also to touch on your question, you know, in the beginning of this podcast about what made us so different, is because I didn't try to focus on 100 problems in the insurance industry. I had 2 main problems that I knew. The leads sucked. Everybody was reselling leads, lying about the leads, the credibility of them, everything. And then the insurance industry had a 91% turnover rate after the first 13 months. I was like, okay, these are 2 big problems. So if I just focused on those 2 big problems and developed systems and processes to dilute those, where we could cut that, we could cut the turnover rate in half, and then we could create a little bit better of a lead source. I think that they both hand in hand go together. So if we cut the turnover rate in half, we have more agents that stay on board that buy more leads. If we do the better leads, we have more agents that stay on board. So they work hand in hand. So I just kept focusing on those. And eventually we created enough systems to now cut that turnover rate in half. Statistically, we've gotten it down to about 47%. And we do have statistically the best leads in the country due to our brand and credibility. So it was really cool to watch that play out, but it wasn't everything at once. It was one at a time, one at a time. Let's try this. Let's see if this works. Okay, trial and error. A lot of people just give up after a few things that didn't work. And we just kept going at it. And I think that was the biggest difference with us. And now we got really good at client retention, but we started noticing that agents were falling off because expectations weren't set on how long it takes to get contracted with the carriers. Communication and agent engagement was not good with us from the executive team, from the uplines. So now we're putting in text automations through the CRM, where as soon as the contracting process starts, every time you hit a point in the contracting process, new carrier, whatever, you get an automatic text message. Now we have an elevated support website where an agent can go and fill out a ticket, just like we do on the Discord, on the lead side. So it was cool to see, like, okay, we got this down on the client side, but how do we treat the agents like they're one of us, like they're home, like they're family? It's to show them that we do care. The way you care is constant communication and engagement. communication and engagement is wildly important. And how do they comprehend it? By dumbing it down to a 5th grade reading level, which is what we all usually read at, instead of sounding too technical or too bland or too, like I've even told you sometimes, Christian, like you're too smart for your own good sometimes. So when you answer people in the Discord, they don't really understand it. So I'm like, there needs to be a better form of communication engagement. So I go in and I'll thoroughly explain and I'll dumb it down on a 5th grade level. Like, oh, okay, cool. We understand that.
I'm just laughing because your way of responding is like, you dumb as fuck, bro. Read the message again.
No, that's how it used to be. That's how it used to be. And then you see my, I did that. You dumbed it down for sure.
Yeah, bro.
No. I used to be that way. And now
It's just funny that like we're close like that where we can bring that up.
But you've seen the growth even out of me. Yes, I used to just not give a fuck about certain people.
Yeah, no, now you changed a lot, bro.
Yeah.
I've had to transition that and understand just people click differently and sometimes I'm not for everybody. The beautiful thing about having an executive team now is we might bring on a big fish and that big fish might not like me because that big fish isn't like he's a green, right? Where he's got to know all the exact facts and data. Boom, loves Eric. Yeah. But then we bring on a big fish who's a red, like an aggressive individual.
Yeah.
And me and them click. It's like, oh yeah, bro, we're gonna make a bunch of fucking money. We're gonna help a lot of people. We're gonna live the best life, man. Hell yeah. Then we got, but what's really cool is I'm a hybrid to like a blue personality where I'm a happy-go-lucky life for the party. So I got somebody who's kind of like that. I can also vibe with them. Yeah. And I can lay back my aggression a little bit and show them how like cool and vibey I am and outgoing.
Yeah.
Have you, I don't know if this is something that you like experienced or no, but your company grew too fast. Did you ever feel like it's outgrowing you as an entrepreneur?
That's exactly what I felt.
That's why
like.
he's hiring
That's
a
why
COO.
That's why I was so, at one point, guys, you guys knew about 7 or 8 months ago, I was talking about selling in a year because I was just, honestly, I was burnt out.
Yeah.
We were catching bottlenecks and we were bringing so many agents on and we didn't have the proper infrastructure. Yeah. And I didn't have somebody that could just be there for me like a Perez or an Ian because Ian was so focused on his agency where Ian's agencies now has his generals where he can like help me as the vice president and Eric. But yeah, dude, like before I had Eric like to really clean everything up and develop all these automations and make it easier for all the agents, dude, I was burnt out. I was like, man, I'm gonna just take my 20, 30 million and ride out. Like, I'm just over it. Because like I was getting blown up everybody. I didn't set boundaries. Like I still had agents calling me, the CEO, like talking like reckless to me. Yeah. Like after all, I'm like, dude, what? And it just started making me unhappy that the attitude of gratitude wasn't there. And I was like, it wasn't there because I didn't set the expectations from the beginning because I gave too much. So I put some of the responsibility on me and I said, let me go find somebody who can be a little bit more disarming than me, can talk to everybody and set clear lines of communication in place, clear boundaries in place, and clear automations in place and expectations. Yeah. And we've been doing that. I mean, it's still a work in progress, but that has changed everything because I'm happy again. I'm happy again because I see that explosive growth again. Because we did, we were stagnant for a few months. Still great, doing great. But now you see that explosive growth again because of everything we put into place. Because now we have clear lines of communication where now, instead of me talking to or having 40, 50 text messages a day and feeling overwhelmed at the end of the day and not being able to, like, dude, like being in my position ruins relationships because sometimes I'm taking shit out on people because I got other shit going on. Yeah. Like I remember us having a call a couple days ago and I'm dealing with something else and I'm like frustrated at everything and like I can't even have a proper conversation or think straight because of I let things overwhelm me too much. Right. So it's not just having more patience and like that's cool. Everybody can say, oh, you just need to have more patience or you just need to have, bro, it's not that fucking simple. No, you need to develop proper systems and relationships and better people around you and start to focus on who's really around you, bringing you up and taking care of things when they see you are getting overwhelmed. Not just, the answer isn't you just need to be better and be more patient. That's not the answer. The answer is way deeper than that.
Yeah, that's the equivalent of telling someone like when they have anxiety, like, hey, just don't be anxious.
Yeah, calm down.
That's exactly the equivalent.
That
that's
doesn't make
why,
sense.
you start to see this men's health thing all the time because, you got women that are, oh, you should just be more this and be more that and be more this. And it's like, dude, like you don't understand how much we do because the women aren't in our shoes. And it's hard for women to put themselves in our shoes because they're not men and we're not women. So like that's why proper communication and comprehension is key. And I've felt like lately, like even with my therapist, like I write things down. So because I forget things, I deal with so many things. But writing things down sometimes, like I used to write everything down on a Sunday on what I was going to do for the week and what I wanted to accomplish. And I got away from that because I got so good just at remembering shit. But now new levels, new devils. Like I'm at a new level now where I can't remember everything. And I'm starting to miss important text messages and miss important calls. And I'm like, oh shit, like I need to go back to the basics.
Yeah.
Writing things down, understanding my boundaries, understanding this, reaching out to people when I genuinely need help instead of trying to bottle it all in and do it all myself.
Right.
But dude, I mean, this
So-
shit is not easy, man. People
It's
listen
not,
to this
bro.
and they think business is
It's
just,
not.
oh yeah, guys making millions of dollars, I can make it too. Go ahead and fucking
Yeah,
try.
yeah. We
Go
just
ahead.
actually had a podcast with a guy. He started with, I will drop a lot of golden nuggets, and he was like, because those golden nuggets are so heavy to actually like commit to. You know what I mean? Like people hear and people don't want to share it. But he didn't give a fuck about sharing it because he know even if someone knows it, they're not gonna be able to.
They're not going to do it. Like,
Exactly,
people get on.
yeah.
I know some of my
That
agents
was
when
a
I
good
speak
quote.
at some of these, speaking engagements, and I'm giving like all the secrets, and our agents are like, bro, why the fuck you like to? I'm like, they ain't gonna fucking
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah,
It sounds good. It sounds real good.
Yeah.
Right after that damn convention, they're gonna go home, and they're gonna snooze their alarm again for an hour and a half. They're gonna take vacations there for 6 to 9 months.
No, I
they're
remember-
gonna blame the leads, blame their upline, blame the opportunity, blame their branding. Everything is the problem except for them. You know why?
Yeah.
Because they didn't write everything down that they knew they needed to learn, or they have an ego and they listen to somebody like me and they end up wanting to hate me just because I'm so aggressive instead of actually listening and be like, damn, maybe I should go join him instead of
Yeah.
trying to compete against him.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
I should listen to somebody like that and try to work with them. Maybe we can make double the money instead of half the money going against each
100%.
other.
I remember also like in one of your trainings before you were like because you kept saying to them that like you guys always see like, oh, Eric is making this much, Eric is making this much, but do you guys know how much is Eric spending? And then he asked his agents and he was like, does anyone know how much I'm spending on marketing like per month? Or does anyone knows
Yeah.
how much I'm paying Raw for content per month? You know what I mean? And everyone of course was clueless and he was like, exactly, you guys don't know what the fuck I'm doing to be able to get to this amount of income because I'm spending so much money too, you know? It's definitely not easy to be in this business, but this is where you're at right now. And I know you're saying that you guys are exploding more now, but what is the next step?
The next step is becoming our own IMO, our own independent marketing organization. I had that goal from day one. I watched, Family First Life, the IMO that I'm with now, that I'm branching off on, currently. I mean, or here in the near future to become my own IMO because I genuinely want to be the next biggest thing. It's not a bad thing. Like I gave 2.5 years of my life, to this and to build. But I build everything myself. Like I take a lot of pride in not what I've only built, but what like Adrian, Ian, and like a few other agency owners that were with us from the beginning that are still here. Like we built this shit.
Yeah.
Yes, I was the visionary, but my scattered ass brain had to be put together in implementations at some point, and that was Ian, Adrian, Christian, like a few of these guys that are still with us. Without them, I wouldn't have a business. So at some point, we all need to take the next step. And the next step is to become our own independent organization. Yeah. And when we do that, we can white label and brand everything. We can even create our own products. Elevated IUL, elevated whole life, like through some of these insurance carriers that want to work with us because they see the explosive growth. They want to be a part of this. They see the branding. All that's going to do is create more revenue and in turn, what? Impact more lives.
Yeah.
It's nothing bad that we're trying to do here by wanting to be our own independent organization.
Yeah.
It's to impact more lives. That is the name of the game.
I mean, I think it's definitely well deserved because what you put in the last 2.5, 3 years, bro, you paid the price you paid was part of your soul.
Absolutely.
It wasn't just money, bro.
It wasn't monetary. It was monetary. Of course, you guys seen, I put dude, 3 weeks, November of 2022, I remember calling Ian crying, like, we got 3 weeks. I've told this story. Everybody knows I was almost 200 grand in debt. I was done. I had no more business funding.
Yeah.
I had no more line of credit. I had nothing.
Yeah.
I had 3 fucking weeks left. And one ad went viral. You remember that? 401ks, Roth IRA. You remember that?
Bro,
shit?
I remember the conversation we had. I was just leaving my house on my way to the office, and you were like, "Bro, this guy fucked me over." Like how you start most of the phone calls.
Because back then everybody was betraying
I
me.
was
Eric
fucking
this,
up.
Eric that.
You
Now
missed
everybody
that.
copies me. It's like, dude, it's cool. Copy me. I want but half of these guys could have just called me and worked with me and made way more money.
Yeah.
Now it's like, what's the next move? Like, I got some shit cooking up right now that nobody knows, and now I'm not telling every fucking body.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna make sure
You
that when
learned,
I
yeah.
hit this next track, nobody's touching us. Nobody. Because I understand what it's gonna take in 2025, and I'm making those moves right fucking now.
Fuck yeah.
I'm making those moves right now because now I have a goal to make 1,000 agents more than $250,000 net profit in a single year and create 100 millionaires over the next 5 years. And I believe we can hit that goal.
I mean, bro, even if you didn't change anything and you just kept up the space, I think you'll get a hit.
Based on our projections, I truly believe we could. But I mean 100 millionaires, not make $1 million.
Yeah.
100 millionaires, like actual legit millionaires.
Yeah.
Like, look in your bank account, $1 million. Like, you're not a millionaire unless you got $1 million in like a money market or a fucking checking account. Okay.
Yeah.
Like that's what I believe in. Like,
Yeah.
like, you know, when I call myself a multimillionaire, it's because I genuinely have multi-millions. Like these guys call themselves millionaires because they made $1 million, but they spent $999,000 on strippers and cocaine. Like you're not a millionaire.
Yeah.
You made $1 million, good job. You're really good at selling and lying. but do you have any depth? Do you have true wealth?
Yeah.
Can you sell your business for 8 figures right now, 9 figures? Right? Can your business sustain for years on end because of the foundation that you built in the beginning? Or is it all you? Is it even sellable?
Yeah. So, bro, I appreciate you jumping on.
Absolutely.
I don't think this was like a fourth fake guru podcast. I think this was the Eric podcast. We just kind of hung out.
We're just listening right here.
You're good, bro. Like, I think combined, we maybe said 5 sentences.
I think I had like 250 milligrams of caffeine.
So, bro, if someone wants to join your organization or they want to follow your journey or they want to see what you're up to, just want to follow you in general, where can they find you?
Yeah, so definitely pop everything up. You know, at It's Elevated Eric is my personal Instagram. I answer every one of my DMs myself. At Insurance Elevated or insurance.elevated is our business Instagram. Or you can text or call 813-697-7607. That is our business phone number. One of my top agency owners or agents always has that phone at all times. It's always with a top producer that can tell you all about the opportunity, go through the presentation, and show you the numbers. Like, we're not just telling you what we can do for you, we're showing you. Now, it's up to you to put in the work. The numbers are there, the opportunity's there, the systems, the processes, the ecosystem, it's all there for you to be successful. But you, at the end of the day, nothing works if you don't, okay?
100%.
So, at It's Elevated Eric, at insurance.elevated, 813-697-7607. Or they can reach out to you guys at Gentech and you guys revert them here to us.
100%.
Of course, we all work together in unison. But I appreciate you guys having me on. I know we got really deep, really quick.
I love that.
That's what she said.
It's always like that.
But you know, it's always fun to talk about these things because, you know, on the contrary to what you guys might believe, I was not an open person 3-4 years ago about like my past and my stories and or talking about therapy or mental health or any of it. Like, I didn't believe in half that shit until I started going through some real shit and some real life curveballs. So I think it's important that people know that it's okay to talk to people. Now, might not be okay to get on, you know, and show 25 million eyeballs that you're fucking crazy like I am. But it's worked out for me pretty well.
Yeah,
so you might try it. Might work out for you too. Who knows? Might get you locked up. I don't know. But I appreciate it, guys.
Guys, thank you so much for watching all the way through. I think this was like pretty intense, crazy podcast. I think you've shared some stuff today that you haven't shared online ever.
Went a little bit more detailed.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this, make sure to hit that subscribe, hit the like button, and we'll see you guys on the next one.